So UFC Fight Night Vegas 28, Rozenstruik versus Sakai just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and also giving a bit of an event recap as well. It wasn't the best event in the world. There were some decent scraps on the card and some good performances, but overall I think I'd describe this card as pretty mediocre, but it always has some interesting moments. So let's start with the early prelim opener of Claudio Puelles versus Jordan Leavitt. Now, Jordan Leavitt looked like he had a really good first round against Claudio Puelles, but then after that, he just didn't really have the energy anymore to continue. Like, he really tried hard to get Claudio Puelles down in the first round. He couldn't really get him down the way he wanted to. I thought Jordan Leavitt was going to go out there and get an easy submission over Claudio Puelles, but no, Jordan Leavitt has... Claudio Puelles has improved his takedown defense, because I've watched recent fights of Claudio Puelles. He does not have great takedown defense. Like, he was been held down in his career before many a time by people who don't have the credentials or the skill looking wise on the ground as Jordan Leavitt. So he's definitely improved his takedown defense, and that was obvious from the first round. I still gave Jordan Leavitt the first round, but still Puelles eventually won the second, won the third, winning all of the scrambles, ending up on top all of the time. I know Jordan Leavitt actually outstruck him on significant strikes in that round, and actually outstruck him on total strikes as well. But you can't blame them for giving it to Claudio Puelles, even though the rules of MMA would dictate that it kind of should go to Leavitt. It's just that Leavitt was throwing punches so femininely, you can't really score them. Even though they are total strikes, he was just sort of, oh no, you stop. You know what I mean? Like, it's just bit more testosterone in those little total strikes. Maybe he would have got some of those rounds. He just looked defeated, so it kind of didn't help his case in terms of securing a victory. Claudio Puelles got the job done. Great job, improved takedown defense, and a young guy himself, so looking forward to seeing what he can do next. Moving on up the card, Sean Woodson versus Youssef Zalal. I went with Sean Woodson. I went with him by decision, and he won the fight by decision. Man, Youssef Zalal is really, really, really annoying to me. To think that he won that fight in any way. It was a close fight, don't get me wrong, but again, total strikes. Like, there was moments where Youssef Zalal was just leaning on Sean Woodson, while Woodson landed elbows to the head, couple of punches to the body, a couple of knees to the body from his back against the cage. Every time your opponent is out total striking you in a neutral position, they are winning that position. Youssef Zalal, you do not get points for sticking your head in between someone's fucking groin. Like, it didn't make any sense to me, Youssef Zalal's game plan. I thought he was going to maybe try and scoot around and chop at the legs, and no, he just started just grinding on Woodson without doing any damage whatsoever from those positions. He landed some good shots on the feet, and it was a 29-28, or maybe a 30-27, I don't even know. Sean Woodson got the job done, though. Good striking, landed good shots at range, and just kept busy whenever Youssef Zalal was doing nothing. And also something that saved him in that fight was at the end of the rounds, if it was close, he just ripped a guillotine. It was in. He probably would never get the guillotine anyway, but just to look like you're going for a real good guillotine at the end of those rounds in a close round, Sean Woodson gets those rounds. Close fight, but Woodson gets it done. Moving on up the card, Manon Fiorot versus Tabitha Ricci. Now, I enjoyed watching Tabitha Ricci, not for the reasons of skill, but she actually was quite tough. Landed some good shots back, but Manon Fiorot, she is, Manon Fiorot, she's very good. She's very good. Really good stand-up. In fact, like, she showed up Sean Woodson and Claudio Puelles and everyone who'd fought on the card until then. Like, Manon Fiorot should really be happy with herself. I think we've actually found someone who at some point could really be a challenge to Valentina Shevchenko in terms of her striking. She's actually a female flyweight fighter who looks like they actually know what they're doing. And that's really rare in the women's flyweight division. And because of it, Shevchenko has ruled for so long. But I think that we actually might have something here. She's young. Well, not young, but she's 31 or something like that. So she's still got some time before she gets even, like, better. So around the 33 age is when we're going to want to get her towards that title. But we'll see what we can do next with her, because Manon Fiorot just looked amazing. Great finish in the second round. Arguably could have been stopped a little bit earlier, but I know that Herb Dean doesn't want to be seen defending and stopping a fight early because it's a female. He gave her a chance to fight back. She did, but eventually it's just like, you can't let her take that much damage. And Manon Fiorot got the job done, and it was one-sided ass whipping the entire time anyway. Good job, Manon Fiorot. Amazing performance, dropping her with a left hook, or not a left hook, a right hook, a double right hook that dropped her in the first round. Manon Fiorot's a beast. Great performance against Tabitha Ricci. I would love to see what she does next. Moving on up the card, Alan Patrick versus Mason Jones. Mason Jones got the job done. just smashed him. And I know it says no contest, but trust me, it's just Alan Patrick finding a way out of the fight. In all honesty, like, he didn't even... The eye poke landed, and it was an eye poke, and it was accidental, whatever, the eye poke lands. He sort of looked like he was framing on the shoulder, and then his arm sort of mushed off the shoulder and landed in the eye of Alan Patrick. But Mason Jones whooped the shit out of him. Really great performance. Like, Alan Patrick is not a joke fighter. Went to a decision with Bobby Green more recently. Like, he's not some bum that just gets destroyed. And Mason Jones destroyed him. I thought it was a 10-8 in the first round. Close, though. Maybe not a 10-8, but still dominant. I thought 10-8 in the first round, especially the reasons they're giving out 10-8s nowadays. It seems a little bit easier to get them. Round 2, well on his way to another 10-8 round. On the ground with Alan Patrick. Alan Patrick's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu. Mason Jones was just getting right into his guard and smashing him with elbows. Amazing performance by Mason Jones. Alan Patrick found his way out of there, but a good, I guess, TKO win in round 2 for Mason Jones. As I predicted, I thought it would happen in round 3, actually, but it happened a little bit earlier. Alan Patrick had nothing for him other than a couple of spinning back fists, and Mason Jones just looked calm, collected, better than he did on his debut, a lot more patient than on his debut, a lot less reckless than on his debut, and looked really good out there. Real patient, chopped at the legs, went to the body, eventually got the clinch, got some takedowns when he needed them. Amazing stuff from Mason Jones. Maybe he can take on Claudio Puelles next. Who knows? Moving on up the card. Makwan Amirkhani versus Kamuela Kirk. I picked Makwan Amirkhani. People called this a robbery. And some people clicked on this video expecting me to call it a robbery. I picked Makwan Amirkhani to beat Kamuela Kirk. This was not a robbery at all. And people call me biased all the fucking time. I swear to God I'm not. I'm just watching the fight. Makwan Amirkhani almost intentionally lost the fight. Intentionally chose not to win the fight against his opponent, Kamuela Kirk, who, by the way, looks exactly like a mix between Conor McGregor and Mike Perry. Mike Perry's face, Conor McGregor's everything else, attitude, aura, the way he fights. He's Conor McGregor, basically, with Mike Perry's little face and eyes and nose and mouth. Either way. Great performance by Kamuela Kirk. I thought he won the fight so clearly. And people that will call the Latifi fight a robbery later on against Boser will not call that one a robbery. Like, it's so silly to me. Kamuela Kirk easily won the fight. He outlanded Makwan Amirkhani in rounds 1 and 2 with significant strikes. He was always outlanding him in total strikes as well, 100 to 25 in total strikes. Makwan had no submission attempts. Kamuela Kirk had 3 submission attempts. All Makwan had was control time, and he just simply refused to throw shots. Like, I actually thought it was rigged. The only time he threw a shot in the fight on a total strike when he had a good position was when he had a dash choke. He had a dash choke, he was setting it up and he went total strike and then gave up the position. He had so much top control, and if he was just little ones to the ribs, little ones upstairs, little ones to the ribs, if he just did that in this fight, he would have won this fight. But he chose to ignore the rules of MMA and just lay on top of Kamuela Kirk, who just constantly punched him on bottom. As long as your opponent is doing that to you and you're in a neutral position on the ground, he is winning the fight. Kamuela Kirk won the fight. I don't see how they gave it to I don't see how anyone thought Makwan won, but good job on Kamuela Kirk on short notice to out-cardio and out-hustle Makwan Amirkhani in a fight on a week's notice. I'd love to see him on a full camp. I really would love to see him on a full camp. I'd love to see him avenge his loss to Billy Quarantillo. I thought that'd be a great matchup to make in the featherweight division. Billy Quarantillo, Kamuela Kirk. Quarantillo beat him before when Kamuela Kirk took the fight on short notice. Billy Quarantillo beat him in the 3rd round when he gassed out. I say run the rematch. See what happens in a rematch. I like Kamuela Kirk. Looks real smooth on the feet. Good chin. I liked it. Good grappling off of his back, I guess, as well, with submissions. Really good stuff from Kamuela Kirk. Moving on up the card to the next fight on the prelims, which was Francisco Trinaldo versus Muslim Salikhov. I picked Salikhov by decision. He got it done by decision. And it was a great example of what a pussy Alan Patrick is, in all honesty. Muslim Salikhov got really badly poked in the eye. Ignored it. Old man, ignored it. I don't give a fuck. Oh, my eye can't open. I can't see out of it. Who cares? Get me back in there. Oh, I'm up 2 rounds and could call it now and get a free win. Fuck that shit. Get me back in there in round 3, even though it's only my fight to lose. and I'll win round 3 anyway, or whatever it was. I mean, Francisco Trinaldo was throwing a lot of big shots, but they just weren't landing clean. Although they might have looked like they were, a lot of them were bouncing off the guard. Muslim Salikhov was just way more tidy with his work. At the end of the first round, maybe you could say Trinaldo was doing good in the first. At the end of the first round, Salikhov catches him with that counter hook as he's rushing in, puts him down real bad. Round 2 was really close, but Salikhov secured it in round 3, and I thought he won round 2 as well. I thought it was 30-27 Muslim Salikhov. Amazing performance. And I really do respect him. Old guy, does not need to risk it, just wants to fight anyway in the 3rd round, even though he could have called it off like Alan Patrick and got himself a free win or a no contest. But in his case, it would have been a free win because he was up on the scorecards. So, good job, Muslim Salikhov. Really good job. I really respect him, and he's gone way up in my book. I think they should do him versus Li Jingliang next, real soon. Moving on up the card, Boser versus Ilir Latifi was the headliner of the prelims. I went with Ilir Latifi. I thought he was going to secure it with half guard and just lay there on that Boser for the entire fight. And that's what he did to Boser the entire fight long, pretty much. Boser landed a lot of shots. Those numbers in round 1, 8-1, are absolutely bullshit. Don't know who counted them. Absolutely rigged. The fact that Michael Bisping actively said on the fucking broadcast that Boser was up 2 rounds screams of a rigged fight. They were trying to skewer this as much as they could by showing the significant strike stats, which were all wrong, and so are these recorded ones as well. And also talking about how he's just easily won the first round against Latifi, and Latifi needs a finish. It screamed of they've tried to rig this for Boser, and Boser's not having it his own way. Ilir Latifi did real well. In the 1st and 3rd round, I thought Ilir Latifi won the fight. Round 2, you could go 10-8, but at the same time, Boser got that position and that moment in the fight by scratching Ilir Latifi's face and eye with his thumb after a cuffing hook. Landed a hook around the ear of Latifi, scraped back his hand, clawing at the eye, and then Latifi covers up, somehow survives, gets it done in the 1st and 3rd. I actually don't even mind the decision. And 8-1 on significant strikes in round 1 for Boser is absolute bullshit. They tried to rig it. It failed. Boser hasn't got good takedown defense. Ilir Latifi beat Derek Lewis. You're not getting rid of him. He'll stay there and be a haunting for Lewis's career for as long as he needs to be. Moving on up the card to the main card. Montana De La Rosa versus Ariane Lipski. Another female fight. Another finish. Crazy. This card. Montana De La Rosa, good performance. Had a good first round with Ariane Lipski. Close moments here and there. Lipski would catch a couple of shots on her, and then they would have some decent moments in round 1. A little bit closer of a round. Maybe you could give it to Lipski, but I thought the top control and the total strikes of Montana De La Rosa at the end of the first maybe could have edged it her way. Either way, I don't mind who you give the first round to. I'd say it would be Montana De La Rosa. Either way, round 2 comes around. De La Rosa gets on top, gets full mount, pounds the shit out of Lipski until the fight's over. Amazing performance by Montana De La Rosa. 26 years of age still. So much experience in the UFC. I don't even know how many fights she's had in the UFC now, but it feels like about 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights in the UFC so far. 26 years of age. I think she could be a creeper in the division for someone who actually could get quite good, because she's got the experience, she hasn't taken too much damage, and she's only going to get better as the fight goes on. Montana De La Rosa looked amazing and got the finish. I predicted her to win. Moving on up the card, Gregory Rodrigues versus Dusko Todorovic. Dusko Todorovic looked terrible. I thought he was really good. He looked really good at one point when he was getting his own way in all of the fights, but Gregory Rodrigues just kept landing a right hand on him and kept shooting takedowns and had a HGH gut as well, if that helps. But Dusko Todorovic, I'm never picking him again. And I'm never picking Makwan Amirkhani ever again. I can't fucking stand it when fighters know they've lost rounds but prey on a robbery. Dusko Todorovic knew he lost the first 2 rounds. Against a short notice opponent, by the way. A short notice opponent came in and took every round from him and out-hustled him in the 3rd round. I'd rather be a guy on a week's notice than 8 weeks, honestly, knowing these fucking fights that have been going on recently. People just fucking win as the fight goes on. I mean, even Santiago Ponzinibbio was a short notice replacement, wasn't he? And he just goes in there and out-hustles Baeza. But either way, Todorovic looked terrible. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I think he needs to sort of leave the UFC and fix himself up and then come back, because he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have anything. This should have been an easy cakewalk for him. And he flopped it, so I don't know. I'm kind of done with Dusko's hype train. he probably would have lost to Maki Pitolo as well, his original opponent, before Gregory stepped in on short notice. So I'm going to go never with Dusko again. Sorry if you're a fan of his. It's like Alexander Hernandez against Thiago Moises. You can see in the third round, he's not trying to win the fight. He's trying to, maybe I'll get it. And he starts putting his hand up at the end. Is it me? It's not you, obviously. Either way, Rodrigues did well. Good stuff. Moving on up the card. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Miguel Baeza. I picked Miguel Baeza to win this one. I picked him to win this one because I thought the calf kicks were going to be debilitating for Santiago Ponzinibbio, who had a bone disease, which weakens his bones in his body. And I thought Miguel Baeza, against a guy who jabs as much as Santiago Ponzinibbio, was just going to rip up that calf. And we've seen Miguel Baeza finish someone with about 2 calf kicks before in his career. He's got nasty calf kicks. But for Santiago Ponzinibbio, calf kicks don't mean anything. Baeza, I want to say, landed 20 of them. 20 calf kicks. Some were checked. I'm not including those. There were about 20 solid calf kicks throughout the start of round 2 and round 1. And Ponzinibbio just ignored them. He didn't, check all of them. He took loads of them right on the calf. And just ignored them. And walked down Baeza in the second and third when he needed to. Put on the pressure at the end of the second and got a good flurry at the end. And then just walked down Baeza in the third. And Baeza's leg looked like it hurt more. I don't understand calf kicks. I don't understand the toughness of Santiago Ponzinibbio apparently as well, because he genuinely just ignored them. Who cares? I'm getting calf kicked. I've never seen this move before. This hasn't been around since I've been out of the game. I'll just fucking ignore them. Good win from Ponzinibbio, though. Amazing. Underdog. If he lost, that'd be his career over. So at least we can rebound Miguel Baeza. But Santiago Ponzinibbio, man, great performance. That's definitely fight of the night as well. 50k each. I'm sure that's not going to feel too bad for either of them. But yeah, really good performance by Santiago Ponzinibbio, winning the second and third round. Great jab that fight as well, sticking it on Baeza's face the entire time. Great win by Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think maybe him versus James Krause could be next. I don't fucking know. Moving on up the card. Roman Dolidze versus Laureano Strapoli. Fuck Roman Dolidze. Straight up, fuck that cunt. I actually don't like him anymore. He's shit talks, he's smiling in the cage, he's laying on his back going, ooh, come get me. You're a fucking pussy, dude. Straight up, you're a pussy bitch that can't fight. I don't give a fuck, dude. I hate Roman Dolidze now. He fluked his win over Kadis Ibragimov in the first round with a knee to the head that was supposed to be a head kick. And he's just terrible. And it shows in this fight. He won the fight very clearly, don't get me wrong, every single round. Maybe not the third, but every single round other than that. I just don't like the fact that I picked him to win. I picked him to win by decision as well. I just don't like the fact that he was a middleweight with a full camp taking on a welterweight who had a week's notice on the feature fight of a card. He should not be in the feature fight of a card. So they blessed him in that position on a card. He has been given everything to go out there and make a name for himself, and he decides to just literally hold a body lock against the cage the entire fight long, so long as it's going his way anyway, and just drag Laureano Strapoli to the ground and knee his thigh the entire fight long. And he's laughing about it, and he's happy about his win. That is an embarrassing performance. Strapoli, welterweight, short notice, wasn't even in shape for the fight. That should have been an easy fucking win to propel your career forwards, and you shat the bed again, and shat on the entire card, and ruined any chance at a fun card. You stained the entire card with your shit. Either way, Laureano Strapoli looked okay, and I'm happy that he got angry at Roman Dolidze at the end. Rightfully so, dude. I'd be pissed off as well. If I stepped up like that, upper weight class, against a bigger man with a better record, and better skills on paper, and he hugged me the whole time, I'd be pissed off. So Roman Dolidze wins. Moving on up the card, Walt Harris versus Marcin Tybura. I picked Marcin Tybura in the third round by TKO. Or second round. I think I said late second. Either way. Harris. It was a Walt Harris fight. I don't even have to continue after that, but I will anyway. It was a Walt Harris fight. He went out there. He had really fast hands. He landed them on his opponent's face a lot of times. And then he completely gassed out and shat the bed and got taken down and got pounded into shit. So Marcin Tybura wins. And by the way, Marcin Tybura, credit to him because he was moving that head. Every time Walt Harris would swing, dip, 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 just get my head out of the center line. Great IQ from Tybura to defend and be well on his back foot like that. Took on Walt Harris, who's always dangerous in those first 3 minutes. Eventually pounded him out at the end of the round and got himself a good win. Walt Harris looked fatter than his last fight. He weighed more than his last fight. He can't go longer than 3 minutes of cardio. That's a fact. He just can't go 3 minutes of cardio. It's getting worse and worse every fight, his cardio. He's not trying to be a pro MMA fighter. We have to cut him from the UFC. He's 13-10. Unless you want to do like him versus the winner of Tuivasa Greg Hardy, to just chuck them up the rankings somehow, maybe. But I just don't think you can have him on the fucking UFC anymore. I know his daughter's dead, but it's just like, dude is not fucking trying. He's fatter than he was last fight. He's got worse cardio than he had last fight. He just has the same problem every single fight, and he never addresses it. Ever. And he looked like a fat shit out there. And Tybura, who was in shape, got it done. Walt Harris is so frustrating to watch, because you know what's going to happen as soon as that flurry ends. Marcin Tybura gets it done, as I predicted. Moving on up the card, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Augusto Sakai. Augusto Sakai circled around the outside with his chin up in the air until he got KO'd. And Rozenstruik KO'd him at the end of the bell, 1 second to go. And it was a good win by Jairzinho Rozenstruik, in all honesty. Really good win. Clean shot, put him down, landed a couple of shots afterwards. I know you could argue it was a bit of a weird stoppage, but I don't know. It wasn't a bad stoppage, it was just a bit weird, because he landed a punch, looked like Sakai was out, then Sakai pops back up like, can I get half guard? And then the fight's over with a second left in the round. Maybe give it a little bit longer. 1 second more, maybe. You know what I mean? Either way, great win by Rozenstruik. Called out Stipe. He'll get a fight with the winner of Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Chris Dalkaus. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Good win by Rozenstruik. Clean shots, picked his moments. Still very patient, but eventually got it done in the end. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. Goodbye. I'll see you later.